Right. No. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome you all back to the session 2 of the Atal AICT program. And I'm glad to introduce the speaker of session 2, Dr. L. Sivaramakrishna sir, Associate Professor, UCOU. And sir will speak on Introduction to 3D Printing and its innovative applications. Dr. L. Sivaramakrishna sir is working as Associate Professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, UCOU. Sir is also working as Joint Director, Center for Product Design, Development and Additive Manufacturing, a center of excellence established under RUSA program. Nodal Officer, PMSSS, single point of contact for local chapters SWAYAM NPTEL and NSS Program Officer. He has also worked as Joint Director of Evaluation Examination Cell UCEOU. Sir's areas of research interest include 3D printing, CAD/CAM, SIM, and cloud-based manufacturing systems. He has published 80 research papers at various referred international and national journals and conferences. Sir is reviewer for many reputed journals like Institute of Engineers India, Journal Springer Series, British Journal of Medicine and Medical Research. He has won the Best Research Paper Award in the International Conference on Recent Innovations in Engineering and Technology at Bhubaneswar. Sir is also editorial board member of the International Journal of Engineering Technology and Advanced Engineering IOP Journal. Sir has authored a textbook on production technology. He has guided more than 60 ME projects and presently guiding 9 PhD students. He has delivered 85 guest lectures in various UGC and AICTE refresher courses, webinars, in-house training programs of prestigious organizations like BHEL, BDL, etc. He has also organized various STTPs, international conferences, workshops, etc. He has organized prestigious program global initiative for academic networking, GNAN program with Professor Sumanda sir from Georgia Institute of Technology, USA as a resource person. He's also done many research and consultancy projects in the area of 3D printing. Sir works with MDS Care Hospitals, Banjara Hills, Yashoda Hospital, Secunderabad, and Sri Sai Dental College, Mehboob Nagar, for solving various critical cases related to cranioplasty and maxillofacial surgeries. With a warm welcome, sir, I hand over the session to take over the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Sweta, for nice introduction. And I'd also like to thank AICT, Atal AICT, for providing me the chance to conduct this program. And also, I thank our principal, Professor Kumar sir, head mechanical department, Ramesh Babu sir, and my director, Professor Sridham Gadesh, director CPDM, Professor Sridham Gadesh, for giving me the opportunity to work in the area of 3D printing, and also what are the work I have done, the support of my students and a lot of doctors who are working in this area, right? So I hope am I audible to all of you? Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Yeah, please. Yes, put on my this.
Yeah. Okay. Is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please. Okay. Thank you. So, I welcome you all to this second session. Basically, this session is concentrating on the fundamentals of 3D printing and its innovative applications. Because morning session, eminent speaker has given a lot of inputs on the. I think he has lessened my burden of telling most of the fundamentals. But anyway, I thought that before we venture into the actual 3D printing everything, so we should know a little bit fundamentals. I know most of you knows the 3D printing nowadays, but still some people who don't have the fundamentals, some of them are coming from different backgrounds. So I hope this will be helpful to you. And some of the topics which we'll be covering will be somewhat covered in the earlier speaker also. But apart from the interesting thing is how 3D printing can be used very innovatively. Right. So what you are seeing on the screen, can any one of you, I hope most of you might have identified the importance of this is the wicket system you are seeing here, right? So earlier in the cricket match, the wickets are not this type of wicket; they are dead stumps. You can call that is there is no liveliness in that. But now in this, you can see when once the ball hits or anything, this stump glows and the bails also glows here. So there is a difference between the earlier stumps and this stump. Type of stumps are called a zinc wicket system. And this is now, I hope most of you are watching now IPL matches. This is a default in most of the format of the cricket matches, like your test match, one international T20 or test match, everywhere they are using. So this type of wicket system became very popular. And this is developed by 3D printing by an Australian engineer, James Ackerman. This was done in 2015 in the Australian domestic cricket. Then it was introduced in the 2015 World Cup, and later it became default. So the importance of this stump is, you can see this is helps the umpire to make a correct decision. Technically, it is helping the umpire, and the next thing is aesthetically, it is making the audience to feel something interesting to see on the ground. For example, in the day and night match, night time, these bales will lift off and go like a Diwali crackers, etc. So this brought interest to the most of the spectators at the beginning in 2015, etc. What the survey done in Australia is, this is also one of the factor of making the audience to come how this works. So this is I think this is called aesthetic sense. So you are bringing two things to the game. That is, one is improving the technical functionality, that is helping the umpire to make a correct decision. At the same time, you are making the audience to feel something different when they see the cricket match. This is what I want to say here, because this is possible only because of 3D printing, right? So in my today's discussion, I'll be presenting on what I want to say is on fundamental of 3D printing. That is, what is 3D printing, what is its definition, what are the various, how do you classify 3D printing, what are the various processes in 3D printing, and then we'll see some of the innovative applications. As you see the left side of the screen, you can see an FDM printer. Here you can see a working principle of an laminated object manufacturing sheet metal lamination process. You can also see an SLS technology, selective laser sintering powder bed fusion, which we have in our center. And then these are different types of technologies available. And what you are seeing, the remaining pictures are all some innovative application. Like I can use additive manufacturing for making a small CubeSat. In fact, we have made this small CubeSat, and I got the opportunity to present this one in ISRO in 2016. So this is a this is what the importance of this structure. Is my voice audible clearly? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir, it is audible, sir.
Some people are telling they are not able to hear. I think from their side there is internet issue, but from my side, okay, it's good, right? Thank you, Sheikh Khalil Rahman. Thank you. I'll be putting questions in between. You try to answer that, right? In the chat box, you can post, right? Now, what you are seeing in the top of the screen is a CubeSat satellite, which we printed entirely using 3D printing technology. So all including screws, everything. See the internal racks, everything you can print. And this inside this, they put the PCBs. I hope you might have seen ISRO launches 100 satellites and other things. This is most of them are CubeSats. That is done. They're intended to do some for specific applications. So that's what these CubeSats are made. And then you can see at the bottom a rover that is now it is already produced. This prototype model of this rover is produced by NASA and tested in Arizona deserts. I am going to show how 3D printing is used for making this rover, which will be in future sent to Mars, carrying 2 astronauts. So I hope you know Mars traveling is 1 year time it will take. So lifting such a huge object from Earth to Mars is not a simple task. Here it should be having lightweight and other things. So in this 72 FDM parts are made with 3D printing technology. And at the bottom you are able to see a shoes. So you might be surprised why I am calling innovative is, which we never thought in conventional process you can enter into this field and do some work. But here 3D printing has broken that boundaries, and it has made there is no limitation. You have idea you have a creative thinking, you can enter into any field. That's what 3D printing has done. So you can use 3D print technology for making these shoes. This is done by Reebok. Is liquid factory shoes it is called, where they made the outsole of this shoes, which is tied to the lace, so it will bring a grip to the athletic who is running, and also it will make a spring back effect to the athletic when he runs fast. So you are using 3D printing in a sports industry, in especially in shoe making and cricket and all the golf, etc. And lot of sports industry also they are using. So think about 3D printing in sports, and you are there. You have a knowledge of 3D printing. You can select that domain also. Next thing is at the bottom you are seeing here a horn antenna. So horn antenna is something used for electronic communications. In fact, I got the opportunity to teach this subject for electronic guys. So I have guided one project with electronic BE students. We made this horn antenna using 3D print technology. This is used for communication purpose. And what is the now latest trend in electronic application, in especially communication thing, is now people are using 3D printing like anything for making these antennas. Earlier they used to make this antenna with the help of a sheet metal, etc. Now we are using 3D printing technology. I am going to talk about that. And at the bottom you are seeing how 3D printing can be used for food processing industry also. So I think there is no field you say 3D printing cannot enter. So it is what the excitement that 3D printing is bringing to everyone. Why it became so popular is like a smartphone. So smartphone now can be used by anyone. Even a rickshaw puller will use, and a person. The interface, human interface, is so easy that what you want to do, you can usually use. Any person can use a smartphone. Need not have a knowledge of your programming, etc. All those things. Here, similarly, 3D printing also, it doesn't require that much of very like a CNC operator looking after so many things. That is, here in 3D printing, the human intervention is less. That's why it became very popular. And you can see the jewelry making industry also embracing this technology a lot, civil industry, and the most recent the industry which is now embracing this technology, it is applying this technology a lot, is the entertainment industry, the film industry, which is adopting. So I am going to focus all these things, because definitely after lunch most of us will feel sleep. So I'll be putting a lot of videos to you so that I'll not be allowing to sleep. That is my challenge for this session, right? So thank you. With this little bit outline. So before that, I would like to say we have a state-of-the-art Center for Product Design, Development, and Additive Manufacturing. This was established in 2019. It is upgraded from Center for Prototyping, Testing Industrial Products, established in 2009. And this center has got so many high-end technologies like SLM, metal 3D printer, what Dr. Padmanabhan sir said in ARCI, same type of machine with advanced version we have in our center. We have selective laser sintering, SLA DLP technology, Polyjet, Ultimaker S5 Pro, FDM 3D printer, Arctex scanner. So Professor Sriram Venkatesh is going to tell all these details, because the main person behind in establishing this state-of-the-art center is Professor Sriram Venkatesh. His hard work, his dedication made to establish the center. He is the director of that center, and I am the joint director. And the outline is, as I said, fundamental 3D printing. I'll be concentrating on these areas: aerospace, sports, entertainment industry, food processing industry, jewelry industry, electronic industry, construction industry, interior decoration. This is another very beautiful area where a lot of home interior decorators are using this technology. And I'm going to tell what is the future of additive manufacturing, right? So let us say the definition of 3D printing as given by Terry Wohlers is a technology that produces models or prototype parts from 3D CAD model data, CT MRI scan data, and model data created from 3D object digitizing systems. So simply, you can produce a product by using a 3D model. 3D CAD model you can produce directly from scratch, or you can get from a reverse engineer, scan the existing object, or if you're biomedical, you can take a CT MRI scan, and from that, without developing any tooling or programming, you can directly produce the part. That is a great thing in 3D print. That's why it became very popular. No headache of programming, no headache of developing any specific tools for that. And as per latest definition given by ASTM International F42 Committee, is a new process of joining materials to make objects from 3D model data, usually layer upon layer, as opposed to subtractive manufacturing technology. So subtractive manufacturing technology is called native technology, but whereas additive manufacturing is called a positive technology, right? That doesn't mean that negative positive means, it doesn't mean that is bad is good. But thing is, in additive manufacturing, in fact, we are not removing material, we are adding material. In conventional CNC process, machining process, we are removing material. Of course, machining process has got its own advantage. You cannot tell 3D printing completely replaces it. But when you come to complexity, making complex parts at a faster rate, you can go for 3D printing, right? So here, 3D printing is also part of sustainable manufacturing, because the amount of damage you make to the environment, that is what sustainable thinks about, is less in 3D printing when compared with the your conventional manufacturing process. So that's why it's called sustainable manufacturing. It's part of sustainable manufacturing. So this what is basically 3D printing definition. Let us see what are the basic steps involved. You can also call it a process chain in 3D printing. What are the basic steps involved in 3D printing? First step is you have to create the CAD model. So creating the CAD model is very crucial in 3D printing technology, because if the CAD model is wrong, the final product will be a failure. In computer program, we call it as garbage in, garbage out. If the input is wrong, output will be definitely wrong. You cannot blame the 3D printer, but the CAD model that you develop, it should be correct. And that's why in the entire steps in 3D printing or process chain in 3D printing, CAD model takes more time. It consumes more time, right? Because of which, if you have to take more time because to develop CAD model correctly with proper tolerances, fits, etc. So the first step is CAD modeling. Second step is once you do the CAD modeling, you have to convert in a particular file format called STL file format. That is called stereolithography file format, or it is also called triangulation. That means you convert all the surfaces. Because in 3D printing we call adding one layer or another layer. For example, you are taking an object like this. You are taking a model of this object, or this object you are taking. Imagine. I hope it is seen to you. I can build this entire object only by adding one layer or another layer. So that I have to slice it into a number of layers, right? This what happens here is when I convert into the CAD model to STL file, each layer will become triangles. So for example, this particular object you are seeing here, this cell phone you are seeing at the bottom, you are having curved surfaces. Now this particular surface, this horizontal surface which I am slicing it, that surface will be converted into number of triangles. So triangle is basically a straight edge. Why triangulation only? Because triangle is the smallest 2D element that you can get. So once you do the triangulation, that what are the corners, curved surface are there, that is, there will be a gap between the curved surface and the straight edge. So there the error will come. So you have to remove those errors. So STL conversion is important. Then you have to transfer it to the machine. When you transfer it to the machine, computer which is attached to the machine, you have to remove those errors. If you don't remove the errors, that will be a problem to you. So that is another important thing. There are different algorithms developed for removing the error removal algorithms. So you can use those algorithms and remove those errors. Once you remove the errors, then you have to do machine setup. That is setting up all the parameters of the machine. That is, you think about in which orientation you are going to build the part. What is the, for example, what is the laser? Because depending on the type of material you are using inside the product, that is what is the material. For example, using titanium, you are using stainless steel, you are using nickel, cobalt, chromium, or you are using an FDM, you are using ABS, you are using PLA. Based on all these materials, you have to set up what is the temperature at which you are going to heat your nozzle, or the laser parameter that you have to set, and what is the orientation you are going to build, or how you are going to stack the other parts in the build platform, because you may be having 10 components, how you put everything. So that is all machine setup, very crucial. Once you do the machine setup, then you start producing the part. You can see once you start, your machine setup is done, all this, then you start producing the part. I hope you are observing my cursor. Once the part is produced, then you remove the part. Then you do some post-processing. Post-processing may be in the form of removing the unsintered powder or attached to the product, because when you make a product, no, the unused material will be attaching to that part. So you have to send air blasting, remove that loose powder, or you have to remove support structures. Or for example, you want to do painting, you can do painting, or you want to do some kind of what you call the sand blasting to increase the strength. So there are different ways of doing post-processing. So this is another important step. Once you get the post-processing, then you start using it for some specific application. So in this is taken from the textbook of Gibson, but if you see Chua textbook, you say it's only 5 steps. Basically, you can say this step of build and remove and post-wash application can combine, you will get 5 steps. Anyhow, these are the steps involved in making for any 3D printing application. Of course, in biomedical, how it is different, that I am going to discuss in my next session lecture, because that session I'm entirely concentrating how 3D printing can be used for biomedical application, right? I hope you understood what are the steps involved in 3D printing. Now, how do you classify 3D printing? Also, there are different ways. For example, you see Chua textbook, you see one literature, they will say you classify based upon the type of input material you are using. Like what is it, like I am using a resin, liquid based one, or I am using a solid based one, or the solid means I am using the raw material in the form of wires, etc. Or I may be using a powder technology. As Sir was telling in the morning, the metal printing, most of them are powder based system. So you are using fine powder, etc. Then actual now, earlier they used to classify like that, the old classification. But now, as per now latest ASTM guidelines, they classified this into 7 ways. So you can see on the screen, even though I am starting liquid, solid, powder, this is the basic one. Liquid, I may have a molten state or I have polymerizable. So if it is a molten state, that means I may go for material extrusion process. I may go for material extrusion process like your FDM printer. Yeah, I'll be answering, I think, answering your question in the chat box at the end of my lecture. Definitely, I think I'll be seeing in the chat box and answering the questions individually. Right at the end of my lecture, I will have 5 to 10 minutes discussion on this. Then and then your vat polymerization, that means resin-based one. So you may use vat means nothing but a crucible in which you store the resin. That is one. Or you may use a material jetting process. That means you take a liquid one and pass it through a fine nozzles like polyjet, etc. That we are going to use it. And then bonded objects. That means morning Sir has shown you ultrasonic additive man, where you are taking sheet of metals and rolling on that and adding one sheet over another sheet. That is sheet lamination process. And then you have and again powder, you have melting and binding. So melting means you use powder bed fusion or direct energy deposition. So powder bed fusion process may be your SLS technology, or you may be using a DMLS technology, a selective laser sintering, direct metal laser sintering, or selective laser melting you may be using. A direct energy deposition means you may be using a lens, or you may be using an electron beam process, right? All this technology you can use. And next one is the binder jet. That means you may apply glue and bind the particles and make a layer. That's binder jetting. So basically now, according to ASTM standards, the latest classification is 7. So please do remember, whatever we are discussing now, you may get questions in the examination. Please be attentive for that, right? So this is what you are having 7 classification: materials extrusion, vat photopolymerization, metal jetting, sheet lamination, powder bed fusion, direct energy deposition, binder jetting. But I am not going to discuss each and every one, because it takes more than 1 week, 2 weeks to discuss each and every process. I am going to select few technologies which are very popular with each classification and discuss about those technologies, right? So let us see first vat photopolymerization. So vat photopolymerization is the first 3D print technology that was developed is SLA, stereolithography apparatus, developed by Charles Hull, and it was patented in 1984. Got 20 US patents. That is the greatness of the technology. And that is, he established a company called 3D Systems. Still is there. Charles Hull is managing 3D System, one of the biggest company from US, which is a pioneer in 3D printing technology. So SLA, it was developed, and it is used liquid photocurable resin it will use. So what is that liquid photocurable resin? Let us understand it. And they use thermoset materials. Accuracy you can get up to plus or minus 0.2. Requires support structures. Here it requires support structures. Let us see what is the principle behind this. Right? That is, in stereolithography, what you can observe is, in stereolithography, you can see that whenever the liquid resin gets exposed to a high intensity light, so liquid is in the form of monomers, right? Single molecule monomer. When you expose it to a light, that means you are sending a high energy light to it, like Planck's constant frequency. Whatever, it starts photo initiating. That means it starts making one monomer to link with another monomer. That means you are adding energy to it. For example, a comparison is, you are taking milk and loose milk you are taking, heating it, putting energy to it. What happens at the top of that milk, you get a hardened layer, right? So how this is possible? Because the energy you are supplied makes this loose part monomer start interacting with the next monomer and forming a chain-like structure, and it becomes a monomer. It becomes a polymer. So here also, when you are exposing the liquid resin to high intense light, it forms a chain-like structure and it becomes a polymer. It converts from monomer to polymer. That's how the surface get hardened. Now, how this process is done, how the part is built in a vat-based photopolymerization technique. Let us observe this video on SLA process. How 3D Systems uses this concept of building the part in SLA using this photopolymerization technique. Let us observe this video. Then we will go to it. Are you able to hear the audio of this video? Hello?
No, sir.
You are not able to hear the audio?
No, sir. No, sir.
No, I am not running now. But when I am running the video, are you able to hear the audio?
No, sir. We didn't hear the audio, sir.
Okay, now I will explain. So this is the you can see that means here you can see the part is first sliced into a number of layers. Once you make a number of layers, then the laser beam will move according to the cross section of each layer and exposes the liquid resin to that cross section. That liquid resin becomes that layer becomes hardened, and the platform will go down. Again, next new layer will be spread on it. You can see here. So you can see here this I am sliced into number of layers. Once we sliced it, this is the build platform. So this is the build platform, and the liquid layer will be spread on it, and the laser beam will move in the XY direction. So the build platform will move in the Z direction, and the laser beam will move in the XY direction. And one layer gets exposed to that laser beam, then that becomes hardened. Then the platform will go down by the next layer thickness, according to thickness of the layer thickness, it will go down, and again new liquid will be spread on it, and then the laser will move in the XY direction, and this gets hardened. So both the layers starts what you call attaching to each other, and final the part will build up here. So this is basically an SLA process or a vat photopolymerization technique. What I shown is SLA, and in DLP it is a different form. That means you get a light from the bottom. It may be UV light coming from the bottom, and the part will build in the reverse direction. So that's how in DLP. I hope this demo will be done during our demo session. We have in our center SLA DLP. So there it is direct light processing technology they use it. Instead of laser, they use a UV light they use and produce the part. So this is a schematic diagram of this SLA process. You can see this is the platform on which you are building the part. This is the liquid photopolymer resin where it is stored, and this is the recoater blade which will be spreading that layer onto the platform, and the laser beam will move in the XY direction and build the part. So once the platform will be at the top layer, and once the first layer gets started, it will go down, and then next say the recoater blade will spread that material, and then the laser beam will move in the XY direction. That gets hardened. So like this, the part gets built. By the time the parts get built up, the platform will be at the bottom. Once the entire part is built, you have to bring it up. So whenever you have a overhangings here, you require a support structure, because liquid doesn't have its own strength to support. Definitely you have to make a separate support structures here in this case. So this is what you see in a vat photopolymerization process. Then the next most famous process is, you might heard, FDM. It is a most popular process used in, it is a cheaper also when compared with SLA, because in SLA you are using a laser beam. Here there is no laser beam at all. You are using a heated nozzle and sending the wire through the heated nozzle and extruding it. So this type of this is called metal extrusion process. These parts have higher strength because it's like a, you are applying some force, like in our case of forming process, etc. Forming parts have higher strength when compared to other parts. So you are applying some energy. It is stored in the form of strain energy. Here also, FDM has got that higher strength when compared with other parts. And thing here is the surface finish will not be that much good. So it is key features are robotical guided plastic extrusion. They use thermoplastic materials. Earlier case thermosetting. Now this is thermoplastic materials. Low temperature to high temperature metals, accuracy may be plus or minus 0.005 inches. Water soluble or wax support you can have here. So that is what this metal extrusion process works. You can see this video how this FDM process is running, is done in this video. How, see here what happened basically is, the wire, I'll show the schematic diagram. You can see here the wire is, it is a dual extrusion process. You are having dual nozzles here. So one wire is used for making the part, another wire is used for making the support metals, etc. Right? So when you send this wire through this extrusion nozzles, the nozzle will heat that wire. So once it gets heated, no, this becomes in a semi-liquid form. So that's why this will start falling on the build platform. This will start falling on the build platform, and this is the extrusion net. From here it is connected. So it will start adding one layer or another layer. Finally you get the part build up like this. And here also the platform will go down. This extrusion head will move in the XY direction. The platform will go in the Z direction. So here you may change the wire, and you can get a combination of two different wire composition, that is colors you may get, or you nowadays it is used even for composite materials also. In fact, we are having in our lab fuse deposition modeling Ultimaker S5 Pro. The demo will be shown to you how that machine is used there. The working principle is extrusion technology, and it, when compared with SLA, it has got higher strength, but the surface finish is not as good as SLA technology, because finally it is not like a resin one. But thing here is the support structures you can build from the next nozzle, and whenever you complete the part, you have to remove the support structure very easily. You can remove that support structures. Let us watch this video how FDM works. Are you able to hear the audio now? Are you able to hear? No?
No, sir.
I'll see whether I can run directly the audio file. What is the problem? I don't know. Yesterday it was running. Okay. Hmm. Are you able to hear this? Are you able to
No,
hear?
sir. No, sir.
Oh, 1 minute. Stop share. Is it asking any kind of share file, share video? The audio options I have to set. Switch. 1 minute. Yesterday it was. No? No, are you able to hear?
No, no, sir.
Okay. Then right, I think there is some problem you have to set. Okay, finally, let us see this video. You can see here, this is the nozzle through which it's a dual extrusion nozzle. It will produce see how it is moving in building the part layer by layer. This is the nozzle through which you get the extruded filament coming out. These are the spool of wires through which it is fed through the nozzle. These are two nozzles you have here. By seeing the video you can understand. This is support material, one nozzle, other one is for building the part. So you can see such a complex structure you can build using 3D. See, this white color is the support structure and the black color is the actual part that you want to build. So both of them are parallelly built here. See, the problem is surface finish. You can see, I am removing that. So you have to do some these are the post processing things. You can have different varieties of spool of wires. You can use PLA, you can use ABS. You know you are using composite materials also. Now it is thought metal extrusion process is also coming up. It is fed in the form of wire and you are producing the part. That is your metal extrusion process. Right. So comes the metal jetting machines. So here metal jetting process uses inkjet printing heads to deposit droplets of build material. So here the future is you have print head and support head, combines high precision milling and no ash content thermal expansion, wax patterns for metal casting you can use. You can use for jewelry, dental and medical application, and you can go for high level of precision and high accuracy you can get here. So for example, let us see how this technology is used for polyjet technology. So we are going to have a demo of polyjet also in our center. We are having polyjet technology. Let us now see how this metal jetting process is used for building the parts in polyjet, using polyjet process. It's like an inkjet printer that you use in your home. It will drop the liquid plastic and you have a UV light. We are having Stratasys polyjet machine with us. So you can make heat resistant materials and durable materials. You can use it for prototypes. So this is basically help in biomedical application lot. In film industry also it is used a lot. So this is developed by Stratasys, very famous, very very high-end surface finish you can get here, but cost of process developing these is very costlier when compared with FDM and other technologies. When compared, it is costlier than SLA-based technology, right? So there also use resin, here you use resin, but the way you build the part is different. It is jetting technology. So you are not using any kind of that laser X-ray. You are using a light, UV light here. So as you see in the video. So this is what happens in metal jetting. So you are having drop on demand DOD technology you call. So you are having the jetting heads coming here. Very fine heads will be there. The nozzle heads will be there. That's why the accuracy of the surface finish is very good here. So when you build a part now, you have a matrix of support materials here, and the actual part will be built from here. So you get the liquid form, the material will be supplied here. So you are having the elevator platform as usual. This will go down and the part will build up here. So whenever you want a finish, you can go for some milling head and do the finishing process, right? This is basically how a metal jetting system works here. Now coming to the next one is the binder jetting technology. Here what happens here is, in the earlier case you are spreading the liquid in the through nozzles in a jet like droplets like this. But in this case now I am using a powder. In that powder I am dropping adhesive ink. Like it's here also you have inkjet prints. On the powder I am dropping glue. So I am attaching one particle to other particle with the help of a glue, and I am adding one layer or another layer and building the part. The advantage of this technology, it's like a color inkjet printer. You can produce colored parts. For example, you want to explain to student this how this particular part looks inside, etc. You can make with different colors and give a good explanation to the student how it works. Right. Similarly, you are an architect, want to show your final building how it looks after coloring everything. You can build a part easily using this technology. So here also I am not using any laser beam. I am not using UV light, but I am doing a glue. That's why it's cheaper. But when compared with the selective laser sintering technology, but it is not having that much of accuracy and strength like your SLS process. It can be used for demo and prototypes, etc. You can use it. So it doesn't require any support structures. The reason is the particles which are not subjected to that glue will act as a support structure for the remaining part which are subjected to glue. So the overhangs, etc. below you have a powder that itself will act as a support structure. So that's how binder jetting technology works here. So let us see how the Z Corporation is very famous in this binder jet technology, how they use this technology for making these parts. So this is how it Z Corporation 3D printing. It can be put in your office. No need to have a separate cabin and an AC everything, and doesn't require much setup cost, etc. You can see the powder is in the form. This is the cartridge which is spraying the adhesive onto this powder. And so first one layer is built, then it will spread the next layer. Because it's binder onto the powder. Now you are putting the next layer. You are spreading the next layer. And again you are moving the binder. See how that part gets built up. Each cross section, each layer to each layer. So once you build complete all the layers, no, then you can remove that part, and whatever the loose powder is there, you can do air blasting, remove it, and then put this final part into liquid for getting better finish. So you can have colored parts here, because you change the ink cartridge color. Like your inkjet printer, you have black cartridge, multiple color cartridge. You can use that and you can build a part. And it is also cheaper and doesn't require any separate what you call separate kind of cabin or all those setups, etc. So with the concept model defibrillator. So this device is used for communication process, and so you can see you can get different colored buttons here. In the single step, you can make this entire panel. Put different kind of colors for to highlight what is that. For analyze, I put yellow, and on I put green. Stop red, I can put. So all of them I can print in single head. And even we can print the flexible rubber components using this technology. You can see a combination. One side one color, other side other color. You can see this is an orange and yellow. So medical model for the doctor to understand, it can be used for pre-operative planning, etc. You can see house constructed, how it looks. Inside you can see how internal rooms of the home appears. So engineering assembly model you can make. But people will understand easily based on color also. That is the advantage of this technology. Yeah, this is how this technology can be used. This is what happens here, binder jetting. You are having ink print caught heads and you are having binder droplets coming out here, and you have a powder, and this will fall in this powder and it will start attaching one particle to other particle and build the part. So here again the build platform goes down and this nozzle it will move in the XY direction. That's how things are done in binder jetting technology. And coming to sheet lamination technology, you are going to add one sheet over another sheet. So the raw material is in the form of sheet, and that sheet has got some kind of what you call you on the sheet you put a small glue like this, and then you send a laser, it will heat, and that one attached to the next sheet, and on that you press a roller on that one. So you can make large components, cutting the paper laminates, outline and hatching, etc. you can do here. So let us see how this technology can be used. So this is how a LOM machine works. See, this is the, again I am using here is a laser beam here also, and this is the sheet material. So this is how the laser will move on the each. See, the paper is pulled by the roller to the other side, and the laser will move in the XY direction. So this is how the laser is moving in the XY direction, and here unused. So what you can see here is the sheet metal, it is in the form of roller, the sheet metal, it is pulled by this roller here to the other side. So the laser beam will move in this direction, right? So it will first hatch the portion, and whatever the part you want to build, that cross section, it will expose that laminate. Once you do it, the remaining portion it will hatch. It will act as support structure. So at the end, when you want to remove, that will be easily removed. So once this entire layer is built now, that will be attached to the build platform down, and that remaining paper will be pulled up by this roller. You can observe here how this process is going on. So here no separate support structures are required, because the hatched portion, which is not part of the object, will act as a support structure for your part. Like this, the entire part can be built up here. See, I mean, it is easy to remove the hatched portion very easily. Then you get the final part out. This is how you can produce the part. So thing is that again that metal can be reused. This is how this works here, the schematic diagram of this sheet lamination process. So roller, it will pull up this material, and this will be the laser will be moving in the XY direction, and the remaining, for example, this is the cross section you are making, remaining area it will hatch. So it is easy for you when you remove, and this portion will act as support structure for the actual part that you are building here. This is how this LOM, it is also laminated object manufacturing, and this adding one sheet over another sheet is your sheet lamination process, or it can be used also like your ultra beam additive manufacturing process. Also you can put metal sheets also. They are now adding fixing one sheet of metal to other sheet of metal using that ultrasonic process. Also they are doing that. That is the latest one that is coming, a metal based one. Then you got the powder bed fusion machines. So here the input metal in the form of fine powder. That powder, when you expose it to high intensity light, what happens is, for example, in selective laser sintering. So you make that particle into semi-liquidous form, and sintering, I hope most of you know what is sintering. So when it becomes semi-liquid form, it will start attaching to the next particle. But in a sintering process, what happens is you are not completely melting the particle. You are exposing to certain temperature that particle, and it becomes in semi-liquid form. So definitely when the particles are in the form of circular shape, so there will be a gap between these two particles. Only the way the contact is there, they will attach, but the other place there will be some gap. So the problem with this technology is the density parts you will get up to 70 to 80%, not 90 99%. But in the case of SLM, selective laser melting, that we are having here, you get a density of around 99.9% because you are melting the entire powder. For example, in the case of DMLS, direct metal laser sintering, or this selective laser sintering, which is a polymer based selective laser sintering, which we are also having that one, it's a formula P100. So that amount of density is not as good as your SLM technology. Right. So here also use thermoplastic materials, broad range of metals you can use. Accuracy goes to 0.005%. No support metals required because the unsintered powder will act as a support material for the sintered part. So that's how you require. You may use polycarbonate, nylon, wax, GF nylon, ceramic. These are the different raw materials that are used for making parts out of powder bed fusion technology. Let us see how this machine works. It's a direct metal laser sintering process. It's a direct metal laser sintering process. You can see the metal powder. You can make such a complex part in single go. As morning speaker professor Dr. Padmanabhan sir was telling, aerospace is using this technology a lot. Aerospace and biomedical fields are using this technology a lot. So you can make such complex contours and channels, internal cooling channels, etc. using this technology. So as usual, you have to first make the CAD model. Once you make the CAD model, you see how he is doing orientation, everything, and then you are going to slice it into number of layers. Once you make it, so based on, you can see before build a part, you can see each layer how it looks. So this is a component of your machine. This is the build chamber where you are going to actually build a part. So now you are putting powder, spreading the powder with the help of this coater, and now that laser beam will move on that powder, and according to the how that laser beam moves the cross section, the part will be built up here. So you can see how it is moving. So here you can have a scanning. You can have a here you generally in the metal you will be using a fiber laser. In our case SLM we are using a 400 watts fiber laser. You can as well as use a dual lasers technology is also there. But in this process you should be careful that in this or SLS technology you should be careful that the powder should not expose to the moisture and humidity, otherwise you will get a granule-like structure. Part failure will be there. So you can see the part is now attached to the bed. It's like welding. So now you have to separate that part from that build plate. So then you have to do this post processing, like you have to do with a filing or some kind of grinding you have to do. Then you may do some coating on that one, so to have better surface finish. So directly that complex gear you can produce using this DMLS technology. So I hope you understood how this technology is used. This is a statistics technology, right? So what we are having is a selective laser melting. So this is how the powder bed fusion works. You spread the powder, the laser beam will move in the XY direction, the particle gets exposed to that one, and then the platform will go down. Then the next layer will be spread by the roller. Again the laser beam will move according to the cross section and the platform will go down. Like this, the part will build up in this way. This is your powder bed fusion technology, right? So I am going to tell what are the materials you will use, everything. Then next comes the direct energy deposition machines. So your direct energy deposition process focuses the thermal energy is used to fuse material by melting as the material is being deposited. So most famous one is the LENS, laser engineering net shaping, and then you are having electron beam melting also. This is developed by Sandia Labs in 1990, Optimec found in 1997, and they use is again fiber laser they are using. The type of materials you can build is uses titanium, stainless steel, Inconel, and full dense parts with good metallurgical properties you can get here. So the density of the part that are produced using this technology higher than your SLS or DMLS technology, and thing is very costly. So here the difference here is, so you can see here in this case the dead process. The feedstock metal which comes in either metal powder or wire form is pushed through a feed nozzle where it is melted by a focused heat source. So in the earlier case of your SLS process, the platform is going down. But in this case, the platform is fixed. The nozzle which is building the part will go. First layer it will come here. In the nozzle you have two sides. I am going to show the schematic diagram. Right, in the nozzle you have two sides. So you get a powder from two sides, and you get a focused beam coming through here. So this platform is built. This will be a platform is fixed, and the larger nozzle will move up, down, upward and downward direction. That's how the Z direction is achieved here. But in the case of earlier case, the platform will go down. Here the platform is fixed. The nozzle will move up and down direction, and you are going to use this. Let us for making functionally graded parts also you can use this FDM technology. Let us see this video on how this technology can be used. You can see how the powder is coming. This is the laser coming. The laser is coming at the center. The powder is coming from two sides. That's how the part is built. So you can get a functionally graded parts out of this. See how the part is built up. Such a complex part you can build very easily. You will get sparks because of this. You will get sparks because it's a metal one. No, you get spark. See this Butler grid type structure. You are able to easily produce. See on the surface texture how the design is done. So that's how you can build the parts. Such a complex part. This is having higher strength than your powder bed fusion technology. So this LENS or electron beam melting has higher strength, and it is having more highest density like a conventional mixing process. Here the density is very high in these parts that are produced using this technology. So this is what I told here. Then what are the general materials used in 3D printing? Plastics, thermoplastic, thermoset plastics, metals, ceramics and ceramic metal hybrids that are now used here. So thermoplastic materials that are used commonly is ABS. In FDM, this is a popular material used, ABS, polycarbonate, PLA, polylactic acid, Altem, PA, polystyrene, polypropylene, glass, carbon, aluminum filled PA or Duraform Flex. Thermoset plastic materials are acrylic, acrylate, epoxy based photopolymer. These are the things used in this type of material. And metal materials used are tool steel, stainless steel, commercially pure titanium, titanium alloys, aluminum alloys, nickel based alloys, cobalt chromium alloys, copper based alloys, gold and silver. So material means don't think this only. Now people are thinking of bioprinting. Even the tissue cells are now started. Bioprinters are coming. Those materials are all now in the process of research. So in future you may get a bioprinted organs in another 10 years. It is still in the research stage. I hope once the ethics clearance, everything is done, this will be also becoming a popular area where a lot of research is going to happen. Bioprinting, right? And if you see material versus technique, polymer blends, you can use it for material extrusion, you can use it for material jetting technology, you can use for binder jetting or vat photopolymerization, you can use it for sheet lamination and powder bed fusion, etc. Composites, you can go for metal jetting and binder jetting, vat photopolymerization and powder. Metals, so like this you can use in all these applications. Graded hybrid metals, this is as per the Wohlers associate. Wohlers are the pioneers in additive 3D printing, where they publish every 6 months one latest happenings in the additive manufacturing technology. So you can visit Wohlers associate to find out what are the recent developments in additive manufacturing. So if you compare these various technologies like metal extrusion, powder bed fusion, vat photopolymerization, material jetting, binder jetting, sheet lamination, direct energy deposition, you can see these are some of the strengths. For example, if you see material extrusion, your strength is inexpensive extrusion machine. Cost of the machines in FDM very cheap. Now you are getting a metal FDM printers even for 10,000 rupees you are getting. And you are having a limitation, the limited part resolution. The surface finish, as I said, is not good as the conventional compared to other process. Powder bed fusion, it is because you are using powder in the form of micron size, the accuracy surface finish usually very good. High accuracy and details, fully dense parts. As I said, I am using SLM, I can go for fully dense parts. High specific strength and stiffness. Powder handling and recycling is some problem that will be found. Support and anchor structure is another area where you have to think about. And all these things, high specific strength, stiffness, that is all the other thing you should think here. Whereas if you go to vat photopolymerization process, it is having high building speed, good part resolution, but overcurring and scanned line shapes, high cost for supplies and material. These are some of the drawbacks downwards. Whereas if we go to material jetting, you can go for multi-material printing, you can go for high surface finish, and you can low, but the drawback of this technology, strength of the material is at low. That strength is not as good. You cannot use it for you can use it for functional parts, but when there is always possibility that there will be failure, but you can still use metal jetting technology. And in binder jetting, you have full color objects printing, requires infiltration during post processing. You can go for wide material selection and high porosity and finish. This is the drawback of this technology, binder jetting. As I said, you are not melting anything. You are adding one particle to other particle with the help of a glue. Definitely, in the gap between that binder particle, between that original particles and the binder, there may be some gap. So because of which the porosity issue arises here. So density is not as high as that. Then you have sheet lamination, high surface finish, low material machine process cost and decoupling issues. And direct energy deposition, repair of, you can use it for repairing of damaged worn parts. Functionally graded materials you can print, but required post-processing machine, the cost of this is also very high. Lens and electron beam welding, for example, the SLM we are having is around 3.5 to 4, it is almost 5 crores. But this direct energy deposition will be still higher, and the maintenance cost also will be higher in this case. So these are some of the comparison between this. Now let us see the innovative applications of this technology. So let us see this. What are the innovative applications? So as I said, we use the additive our FDM technology for making the small CubeSat. Using our FDM printer, we are able to make the CubeSat. So CubeSat is a nano-satellite miniaturized structure ranging from 1 to 10 kilograms, and it is in the form of a cube. Hence, it is called CubeSat. Advantage is 1U is equal to 1.33 kilograms. So you can, it's a modular. You can add one thing to other thing. It becomes 2U, 3U, etc. So you have taken this dimensions from the California State University for making this this CubeSat parts, all the dimensions. Then we have selected there are different types of structures here. So finally we chosen the pumpkin structure because it has got less variety of parts, making the design simple, and you can easily expand from 1U to 1.5U, and less manufacturing time and cost, and easy to assemble and disassemble as well as repair whenever is required. So that is what you can do using this technology. That's why I selected pumpkin structure. Then we model this in our CATIA. Then we have produced that using Ultimaker. We produced everything, including that bolts, nuts, everything we have produced here. So in this inside this racks, you can put the printed circuit board and make the a CubeSat. You can make it. So such type of things can be used in future in space technology also. And now, as I said, NASA is developing this rover, which consists of 72 FDM parts, using the 72 FDM parts, and this is now being tested in Arizona deserts because they are planning to shift 2 astronauts to Mars, and they have to stay in the Mars for 2 years, 1 to 2 years. This is a proposal. I don't know how far it will be feasible, but they are doing all this work. Already doing this mission is this rover is already built and being tested in the Arizona deserts. Let us see this video of how that rover is built. Strategy is working on this rover. So you can, this is the cabin in which the astronauts have to stay. This is like a SUV which will carry 2 astronauts. All this rim, internal electronic, what you call the AC ducts, everything they made using the 3D print technology FDM. Stratasys was used, and to make so that the strength you are not compromising, at the same time the weight also comes down. This is what the Mars rover, where 2 astronauts will be taken from Earth. These are the parts which are produced using 3D print technology. See, the entire door is made using 3D print technology. The electronic control boxes, they are made using 3D print technology. I think there is some issue here. Yeah, you can see the entire panels of this monitor, these ducts for AC, everything is done using 3D print technology. Now even our Indian airspace, that is our Tejas aircraft, according to U. Chandrasekharan sir, he is one of the speaker in our FDP. Is going to come on I think on Thursday. So even in the Tejas aircraft, they may use 2,500 parts are produced via FDM additive manufacturing process, Kaveri engine. And you can see they produce the things within 1.5 months instead of taking 12 months in conventional method. Even the cost of building the part came down from 60,000 to 20,000. So saving of around 87.5% in time, and as well in terms of cost, it is 66% they are able to save using the 3D printing technology. Even the entire Curiosity rover which was sent by NASA to the Mars, this entire rover is built using, all the parts of this are built using 3D printing technology. You can see these are the parts, lowers, everything. They use, they model everything, stacked all these parts in Ultimaker machine, and they use Cura software for stacking all the parts, then they produce this. As I said, if you see the sports industry, you can see all these things like the zinc wicket system, as I said, use it 3D print technology. The shoes, or you can see the golf bats or the helmet that the person is wearing, the batsman or all of them, they are produced in single step in 3D print technology. Such a complex thing you can make in single step. The wicket system, this is called a zinc wicket system. It is done by Braun Teckerman. Now this is a very famous wicket system used everywhere. And you can see the Reebok used its new technology called, it is called material, it's a robotic arm extrusion technology they used here. They developed these outer soles and which are fixed to the lace, right? So this shows, the shoe is designed for distance running, cardio workouts and comforts. This is what helps in. The material they used is urethane based liquid they used here. See how this is used in Reebok liquid speed shoes manufacturing. Earlier they used to use conventional molding process to make the shoes. Using a mold method. Most of the companies were using molds at that time. And their shoes are expensive because molds are expensive. And this is your nozzles they are used. This is called Liquid Factory Lab. You can see how the liquid is moving. This is the bottom of the shoes. It is called outsole. They are filling up this gap with a high energy material. It has got the twice the energy of this one. So it is tightly fixed to your outsole. That's why you are able to easily move. No, not only Reebok, but if you see Adidas using direct laser sintering process, using carbon, it's called, and polyurethane, they using this metal for making midsoles, uppers, and other parts. And even you can use Nike uses selective laser sintering, and the material uses thermoplastic polyurethane powder. They are making midsoles and they are making uppers, etc. Similarly, SLA also they adopted this for making rubber durable resins, and this Under Armour and New Balance, they are using these technologies. Like Reebok is using material extrusion liquid drawing process developed by the Reebok company itself. a patent type of technology they are using, and they developed, and they are using for making the what you call the midsoles, and they are also making use for uppers and other things. So they are using this technology of material extrusion. They are using raw materials, polyurethane or thermoplastics, etc., and then producing the parts. So what you can observe here is even the shoe making industry is adopting this technology a lot. That's why I'm telling you it's an innovative application, 3D printing. So there is no stopping for it. What you think where I can use, you have the choice to use it. So you have to develop. The 3D printing is another specific research area where you, based on the application, you do in the reverse way and start doing research. For example, you want to develop some product, find out what is the material you require for making, what is the 3D printing technology that you have to adopt, and what are the parameters you have to select for making that product. Now all these things becomes a part of your research. So you, based on application, you can go back and start doing the research. And definitely in 3D printing, you are going to have a useful product out of your research. That's what your research should be aiming at. It should have some kind of live things. It's not something written in books and stored. It should have some live product coming out of it. That's where 3D printing is challenging for many of us. Even in film industry, now they are using this technology a lot. For example, you might have seen Hollywood films. You might have seen all these films what I am showing here. Even the Jurassic Park of '93, they used the SLA technology for making the horns of that dinosaurs. I will show the video clip next time. So here, even you see the movie called Pacific Rim. I don't know how many of you watch Hollywood movies. No, Hollywood movies, the great thing is the story is not so complicated. Story is simple, but the screenplay is very beautiful. That means you say the magnitude of the screenplay, what you see on the screen, and you get amazing, right? You see the war in the Lord of Rings, how that war is done. How is it possible to create such a big war on the screen? So that is possible because they are making, they're taking scanning of each actor and at different position they are scanning it and producing their figurines, that small objects, and they are putting in different action sequence, right? So once they put that action sequence, they'll record that in a high-end cameras, and then they'll input into their computer software, then they add effects to it. So there is a studio in Hollywood called Legacy Studio, which adopts this 3D printing a lot in making such wonderful movies. I hope most of you seen a movie called Iron Man 1, 2, 3, Lord of Rings, and you have seen Man of Steel, the Superman versus the Batman, or the Superman Kryptonic City. The entire city is made using 3D print technology, the green color Kryptonic City. Why I am talking this film industry is film industry because it's the high budget films are coming up now. So people are not hesitating to pump money in making such wonderful movies, and that is possible only with the help of this type of 3D print technology. Earlier they are using the graphics part. So audience slowly got accustomed to it. They have found, oh, this is graphics. What is the interesting part for me to go and watch a movie in a theater? So once they started realizing the potential of 3D printing, they use this FDM, they use PolyJet, everything, and then make all these huge gigantic robots that you see in Pacific Rim. You see that huge robots. They are made physical, actual robots. They made using 3D print technology, and it made a lot of difference on the screenplay. Let us watch this movie. How this famous, in all these famous movies, you can see 3D printing is adopted. It's called Legacy FX Studio. You can see the special suits. They use the FDM technology. So only what I am telling is, all of us should think about the innovation, how you can use this technology for different areas. You are required that if you have a skill set of 3D printing, if you are very interested in movie industry, you can get job there. Only you should have the skill set. See how many engineers are working in the Hollywood industry. See. So it was started by a computer guy, a mechanical, electronic guy, and an architect. All of them formed and developed this Legacy Studio. You will not find it's like a film. It's an industry. It's a manufacturing industry like that you can see. So that's what I am telling here. For example, this is the entire war sequence in a movie called Hello Rama. Hello Ram, I think this is a movie. And where all these figurines, this is called small one. So what they are doing in this case is they are taking the scanning the actor, and that actor face, everything during that war sequence, how his face looks. That they are scanning from the actor and producing a small figurine of that same actor, and they are capturing in the video. So you can see here. I am going to finish within 2 to 3 minutes. See, the actors are scanned. They made the figurines. See how the war sequence is built here. See, this for you. Now, how to use this technology? You just think about the area and you can go and work there. So, Iron Man suit completely made using 3D print technology. In modular, they are made a joint together. See this entire thing. They are all made of with FDM, but their painting is done in such a way that it appears like a metal product. So you can see. So like this movies, you can see the suits, the mask, everything. They are using 3D print. Like the Iron Man, all these parts are produced using FDM 3D printer. Material used is PLA. Similarly, Zero Dark 30 in the movie, they went for killing the Osama bin Laden. They went like a Navy SEALs. That goggles of this Navy SEALs, or they want to buy it 60,000. Instead of that, they made a replica of it using the 3D print technology. A similar Hobbit trilogy, all this mass and innovative weaponry, which you never think how can you make, that they produce using 3D print technology, right? Even the Guardians of the Galaxy, that special space guns, etc., they are produced using this technology. So 3D printing is in the entertainment industry. Now in food processing industry also it is used a lot. Now NASA is planning to send in, I shown you the rover they are sending. Along with it, they are sending a 3D printer, because when they send the astronaut to the Mars, they have to stay for 2 years to conduct all the experiments. For them, you have to produce the food. The challenging task when you want to produce the food is you cannot take from here, but they will get damage when they reach the Mars, etc. So what they are doing is they are taking every what are the nutrients required for the astronaut. They are making everything in the powder form, dry form, and they are sending it to the Mars. And there they are putting in the nozzles of the 3D printer and producing the required food for them based on the nutrition requirements. So based on that, they can make customized food for the astronauts, right? Like you can make a pizza or a pastry, etc. So they use the technology like binder jetting or metal jetting, because the main thing in food processing is paste extrusion process is important. So indirect molding you can see. So this is why need for 3D printing food. So it depends on your requirement. You want to have a nutritious food, well balanced. You can have a combination of high protein content or less carbohydrate. You can mix with the different nozzles. You can mix and make that food. That's what you can see. But there are some challenges in making that kind of for 3D print technology using for food industry. The main challenge is material science stability, replicate traditional foods, and the flow of that food, rheology of the food is very important. Stable print materials, and safety you have to do for easy cleaning surfaces, and you have to go for high throughput or large reservoir needed for vast printing. And speed, you cannot produce mass in using 3D print technology. You can go it for customized low volume production, you can go for using 3D print technology, right? So NASA, they given this order to Systems and Materials Research Corporation. They are now developing this printer for putting that printer in the space for what you call in the Mars expedition. So this is for not far away. You can see how this they plan to make this food. They are using fused deposition modeling technique. See how the food is printed. So you require a non-perishable food, you require here. So in jewelry industry also you are using this technology a lot for making very intricate and complex jewelry. You are using this technology. Well, why in jewelry conventionally what happens, you want to have a different type of jewelry, customized jewelry, it is very difficult to make using the conventional process. Now there are two methods in which you can make jewelry. One is investment casting and other one is direct printing. In investment casting it's called indirect tooling process. What you do is you make a pattern of the pattern. Like in investment casting you require first a pattern. That pattern is made using 3D print technology. You can adopt SLA or you can adopt DLP technology, and you can make a wax pattern. Using that wax pattern you can make a join it, and then you can make a that shell building you can do, then dip in the slurry several times until the required layer thickness is obtained. Once you obtain it, then you heat it, you burn out that wax out. Then inside this you pour the liquid gold and you get the required gold or whatever the jewelry material you are using. You can use it and produce. This is the indirect method. Most of the companies are adopting this technology. It is cheaper and you can make very intricate components. But now people are even using direct jewelry making using the powder bed technology. These are the technologies that are used for your in jewelry making. SLA, DLP, they are used for making these parts, right? So different companies are having Form Labs, DWS, 3D Systems. Actually, we are going to have a demo on SLA DLP technology, which can be used for making even the jewelry type of stuff. You can patterns you can make using the technology. So this is the jewelry produced. There is a cast jewelry. Direct metal printing you can go for DMLS or SLM. Gold powder you can use it and make the part finally. So this is a direct printing technology. So this is another area where 3D printers are used a lot. They have dedicated software for a rhinoceros or jewel CAD, etc. You can produce the part. So these are the advantages. You can go for customization and reduce the production time also. That is easily achievable. But these are limitations. You have what is the limitation is you have accuracy is somewhat minimum details you can go to get up to 0.2 and 0.3 to 1. So you burn out remnants are there. When you burn out that wax, there are some kind of small adhering to that actual part, it will affect the quality. And support removal is another, because in SLM or DMLS, because the part gets attached to the your supporting bed, you have to separate it, so that again support material also there. So when you remove all those things, that will make some kind of effect on the surface of the finer jewelry. So these are small limitations of this technology. Right? It's in electronics, as I said, we use this technology for making the your horn antenna. We made using horn antenna using FDM technology. In electronic industry, the most popular way of using this 3D printing is aerosol jet printing technology. So it will avoid clogging of nozzles, etc. So using this technology, you can produce the entire cell phone, all the parts of the cell phone using this technology of 3D printing. So Nokia developed its concept phone called Morph. So even we use this technology for making our Osmania Arts College model. So this is now can be adopted in our civil engineering applications also. Before you build the actual building, you can show to the customer how it looks. The actual part, how it looks. And we have taken the photos of the entire arts college, and then we have developed the CAD file. Then from that we produced STL. In fact, we have produced 3 blocks of this and joined together. Now, in fact, 3D printing is now used for making the real houses. In China, I hope you heard during the pandemic at the beginning, they use this technology for making what you call build a hospital, 3-story hospital within 10 to 15 days they're able to build. So 3D printing is now adopted in civil applications also. So this is what we have done here, collecting the models, everything. Just I want to show this, how we build use 3D printing, and we produce all the parts in different components, that is different parts we produce and then we join together. And even in interior design also this is used. See the interior coming out from the walls, etc. You are using this technology for making this because the empty walls doesn't look good for you in your home. You want to have something beautiful in your home as soon as you go inside. So you are making 3D printing for making this interior decoration parts. In fact, some of the housewives are working and in their home and developing this interior decorated parts and selling through Amazon. That's how they are doing business. That's how 3D printing penetrated even into your home. As I said morning, someone are asking 4D printing. It is in the initial stage, and 4D is nothing but the 4th dimension is your time or the temperature or something which triggers and convert a 2D object into a 3D object. That 4th dimension is the time or temperature or some, or you can call it as a what you call a electrical conductivity or some other thing which will trigger and make the 2D part to the 3D part. So you can see this video. In MIT they are working. They are taking this 2D. Actually, it looks like 2D. They are dipping in a chemical substance and time depend. After some time, this will fold up and become a 4D part. 3D part, sorry. So that is the 4th dimension is your chemical reaction and the time. So I would like to thank our principal and head of the department and also my director, Professor Sira Venkatesh, for their support in carrying out this research work, and I thank them for their support. I also thank my students, especially because as a faculty, it's with the help of students you have to give the right direction to them and support. I would like to thank all my students. Some of them are speakers in this FDP also, like Manamadachari Balaji. They have done excellent work and they are going to talk some interesting sessions to you. Karthik, Kamal, some of them are participants here also. Siddharth from CPDM and Chitradeep, Jay, Josh, all of them, they are all contributing to the what are the research work we have done. Thanks to all of them. So final thing is, you think differently, break the boundaries, don't limit yourself. I am going to work in this area. Though you are 3D printing, if you have a knowledge of 3D printing, the domain is large. You can go to any area, any field of interest. In fact, I want to tell Balaji has got its own company called iForce 3D. He worked in Sahu film along with his friends. He was working in that film also for making some kind of components. And he said even Tollywood is now adopting this technology a lot, high budget films. So you have any question answers? I'm ready to ask. I'm done. So I'll stop my presentation. Yeah. So any questions from the audience? I will unmute them. So one question is coming from Roop Tulasi. Hello, sir. I would like to know how do we conduct clinical trials for implants made out of these techniques? I mean, how to validate the results, right? That's a good question. You will first make a model of that implant, using any of these technologies. Once you model that one, then the doctor will plan the surgery based on that, right? So once he plans the surgery, then he will know how it is correct. They compare the conventional way of doing that, and they will validate the results. So I'm going to present in the next session on biomedical applications. So you can see how we adopted 3D printing for reducing the time of operation, and also how you are validating is only the response from the patient. and how far the operation is successful. So any implant you develop now, you will know after fixing to the patient, if he's having any problem after some time, definitely there is some kind of what you call problem. Otherwise, if there is no problem, it is successful. And you can say mostly they do kind of testing before they put, they sterile do it and do everything, then they fix to that one. Sir, can you tell about the reinforced materials used in 3D printing? So reinforced material, you mean to say supporting materials? No, supporting materials you use depending on the type of technology you adopt, you use different types of supporting structures. You can use different materials you can use. For example, we are using FDM, PLA material we are using, same material can use as supporting structure. Or you can use some other, you are using ABS, you can make another material which is the same type of plastic material you can use, or a different one for support structures. You can use it. Material mostly used for AM of electronic products, like you are using casing of your cell phone, you can go for ABS, or you can go for PLA. ABS you want a better strong, then you can go for ABS, or you can go for PLA, biocompatible, etc. So I have questions from Priyanka. Yeah, I am unmuting you, Priyanka. Now you can ask your question, please. I am also making you change your role as a panelist. You can switch on your video, please. Priyanka, you can ask question, please.
Hello, sir. Thank you. Nothing, sir. I just asked about the reinforcement of materials, like combining two or three plastics or any other ceramic, like how it can be, like how the material is used into the FDM printer or any other printer.
Yeah, as I told, no, you are having two now. One is for support material, other is the parent material. No, that support material will be used for supporting your part. Reinforcement means already existing part. You want to strengthen it further, right? So
Yes.
in the wire itself, when you develop the wire itself, you can have a combination of both of them and build the wire, extrude the wire in that way. Got it?
Yes.
For
Okay,
example,
sir.
you can have a combination of two materials and extrude that material in the form of wire, and accordingly you develop the nozzle for it, and you can make that. That's how you can bring reinforcement in your parts.
But does that work, sir?
Yeah, it's you composite three FDM printers are already there.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Vasisht, can anyone who have 3D printing facility print medical implant? Yes, our center is having SLM technology. We can make we can make biocompatible materials are there. We can make depending on the requirement. Yeah. So I am making change of role attendee. Now question from. I am unmuting you. Please, you can ask question, please, sir. 3DP 177.
Yeah, sir, this is Vivek Prabhu. Sir, please share an insight about developing fiber reinforced polymer or composites using 3D printers.
Yeah, as I said, already fiber reinforced printers are there. You can make a wire with that combination of that both wires. You can make that material, combination of both materials, you can make the wire, fiber reinforcement wires you can make and use it. Already they are existing. Printers are there.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Even our Ultimaker also, which we are going to have in our department, I think it has got, you can make use for composite materials also.
So the thing is, actually, do we need to place fibers as layers, or whether it can be fed into the FDM printer directly, sir?
FDM printer requires raw material is in the form of wire. Got it? Hello.
Yes, sir. Actually, yes, sir. I can understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Abdul Rahman. Any question, Mr. Abdul Rahman? Unmuted you. Okay. Hanuman Dora, you have anything to say?
Yes, sir.
3DP 130.
Can I speak, sir?
Yeah. You can speak.
Sir, yeah. Sir, actually,
You can switch on your video also, you can speak. Yeah.
video is not coming, sir.
Yeah, someone not coming. Anyway, you can speak, please. Continue.
It is.
Yeah.
Hello.
Vivek.
Sir.
Please.
Sir, actually, yesterday you were telling about the medical applications like biomedical applications. Given the permission for on the moral grounds, ethical committees and all. Is it possible to 3D print the bones and other things, sir, like
Direct bone,
bones,
huh?
bones, skull, bone,
Skull implant, cranioplasty
it's like
surgery. Yeah, cranioplasty
actually, like
surgery.
some people get the like
Hello?
some people are getting the fractures
Your
and other
voice.
things. So they are
Yeah. Your voice is not clear. There is a disturbance,
replacing
breaking.
such,
Hello?
so
I am unable to hear your voice. There is.
with our
Hello?
technology, they can.
I am unable to hear your voice clearly. There is a lot of breakage in your voice. Thing is, you can use it for making. I am going to present that in my biomedical application. You can use it for making indirect implants. That means you can make a pattern of your implant, and using that as a pattern, you can make a mold. Inside that, you can pour the your biocompatible material like polymethyl methacrylate and make the final implant. But now you can make directly the implant also using SLM technology. You can produce only that implant. They will do sterilization and then they fix it. The doctor will do sterilization and they fix it. And they, because when we use that material, no, that material is biocompatible material only we'll use. That is only then only it is allowed. So that part is doctor will be taking care of that ethical issue. Once we make that part as per his requirement, then he will be putting in his board and getting that ethical clearance. Definitely you require that when you make a direct implant. But indirect implant already known material. They are known materials, so they use it. They make the part, they sterilize it, and they fix to the human person.
And these pacemakers and all these things, stunts and other things, like in the heart surgery and all these.
Yeah, they are now using this
printable.
Printable.
They are already 3D printable, sir.
Yeah, 3D. They are already titanium based things. They are the stunts also they are able to make. It's done.
Yeah. So I think that will help the doctors more. And overall, I would like to say, sir, from after the keynote speaker's speech, it was on the broad lines, but your lecture has given a very detailed information, and we are all really in the 2 parts in the whole day. We got the complete idea. So it's a wonderful session. We have learned a lot of things, starting from entertainment to and medical, everything we got completely comprehensive.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And Chidambaram, okay, has raised a question. So, Mr. Chidambaram, you can go ahead.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
You are audible. You can switch on your video also.
Okay, sir. Sir, I need to know that whether the machine accepts the .stl format or it's G code, sir.
.stl file. That .stl file is taken. Finally, it will convert into G code only. Got it? Machine you have inbuilt a thing that will it will take STL file, and you know the coordinates of the various point. It will convert into G code. The machine itself will convert into G code.
Okay, sir.
Software attached to the machine. You are from where?
Sir, from Tamil Nadu, sir.
Okay.
Vellore.
Okay, Vellore. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any more questions, please? Hope I have not bored you in the afternoon after lunch.
No, sir. No. It was very fast also.
Very fast. Yes, time is less. I want to cover so many things, so I have to be fast. We have started a little bit waiting for other participants. We have started a little bit late. Yeah. So if any more, no questions, then I can proceed. Or anyone want to say, speak something, you can speak about, or we'll proceed with the next session. The next speaker, I think, Manasram has not joined further. He has not joined. I'm waiting for him.
Manufacturing is also in the process, sir. Stem cells technology.